Laura Fuchs.
Hello, thank you. Charter schools could always unionize. The addition of holding school budgets harmless during modernizations is long overdue. As we have seen with the history of school closures and subsequent buy-up of long-term leasing of public school buildings and property at criminally low rates to pay for charter schools organizations, DCPS has few options for where to locate schools as they modernize. When you combine this fact with DCPS Central Office's refusal to offer even basic supports to schools to ensure that programming and outside partnerships are not negatively impacted, we end up in a situation where schools are often facing dramatic changes in population that then impact their projected enrollments and budgets for years to come. The investments in modernizing our schools was long fought and hard fought long ago. The entire purpose of doing this work is to build up and strengthen our public schools. But primarily due to mayoral control of our schools, this work is often done top down without considering the current community's needs to ensure that they then get to be a part of the modernized school in the future. Moving to a temporary space is already a dramatic change, one that families are not always interested in, so they find a different school for the time being. If we then combine that with a significant loss of funding like we saw with Tubman Elementary this past school year and so many more schools in the past, especially east of the river, it further destabilizes the school community, doing the exact opposite of what we intend in the long run. Holding a school harmless during this transition is the least we can do to ensure that the school staffing remains intact as it moves to the new building. If anything though, schools should likely see strategic investments being made to ensure that the temporary transition of school and programming is being taken care of. We know some of that happens centrally, but too often our staff are left out of the decision-making that could improve the implementation of these temporary moves. The amendment to Schools First and Budgeting Act is also necessary. For too long, DCPS Central Office has engaged in budget practices that generously can be described as shady. As has been pointed out by this office and is also in practice by those on the ground, DCPS appears to be double counting a lot of costs, which then makes it even harder to see where the money is going. For example, DCPS has placed international teacher visas into the average teacher cost, and yet they are coming to schools and demanding they further pay out of their budget for those fees. If the teacher cost is calculated to fund that, wouldn't the school then already be paying for it? Schools are also paying over $2,000 per W-2 member for substitutes, but when a school can't get substitutes and a W-2 member is assigned to cover, DCPS is then charging the school for that as well, and then trying to pressure principals to not pay our members the coverage we are owed from the contract. This becomes doubly true for the newly negotiated co-teacher coverage payment from our last contract, something DCPS has essentially refused to pay for once, or at all, once they agree to it. When we then see those same payments show up on a central office budget, as well, it calls everything into question regarding how things are actually being paid for and accounted for. Overall, though, these items, while helpful, do not get to the real root of the problem, the budget process under mayoral control. We need to make sure they actually follow the law and don't flout the law. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fuchs.